The transport ship broke through the clouds of gas and dust, and Una Park saw the station for the first time. It was massive, bigger than any city she had ever seen on Earth. The Galactic Alliance Combat Academy floated in the darkness of space, like a metal planet, spinning slowly, covered in lights that blinked like distant stars. Una pressed her hand against the cold window. She was far from home, very far. Earth was now just a small blue dot somewhere behind her, lost among billions of other dots in the universe. She was not alone on this journey. 12 other humans sat in the transport ship with her. They were the first humans ever accepted into the Academy. A historic moment, the news channels on Earth had called it. Humanity's first step into the greater galactic community. Una did not feel historic. She felt small. The man sitting next to her was named Taiho Kim. He was tall for a human, with broad shoulders and a friendly face. He had been watching her stare out the window for the past 10 minutes. Nervous? He asked. Una shook her head. Just thinking. About what? About how big everything is out here. And how small we are. Taiho laughed softly. Yeah, I try not to think about that too much. Makes my head hurt? The transport ship docked with a loud clang. The doors opened and cold air rushed in. It smelled strange. Clean, but also metallic. Like a hospital mixed with a machine shop. The humans walked out in a single line. They wore simple gray uniforms with the Earth flag on their shoulders. Around them, the docking bay was filled with aliens of every shape and size. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had too many eyes. Some had no eyes at all, that most of them stopped what they were doing to stare at the humans. Una kept her eyes forward. She could feel their gazes on her skin like cold fingers. She heard whispers in languages she did not understand. But she understood the tone, curiosity, doubt, and something else. Something that felt like amusement. A tall creature walked toward them. It stood nearly 3 meters high, covered in dark green scales that shimmered under the station lights. Its eyes were yellow with black slits, like a snake. Its mouth was filled with sharp teeth. Muscles bulged under its scales, thick and powerful. This was a Vulturi. Una had read about them during the journey. They were the dominant species in combat training. For 500 years, they had produced the best warriors in the galaxy. They were proud of this fact. Very proud. The Vulturi stopped in front of the human group. It looked down at them the way a person might look at insects. I am Commander Draxis, the creature said. Its voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. I am the senior combat instructor at this academy. You are the humans. It was not a question. Yes, Commander, said the human at the front of the line. He was their group leader, a man named Jizuhan. He stood straight and tried to look confident. Commander Draxis made a sound. It might have been a laugh. It was hard to tell. I have studied your species, the commander said. You come from a small planet with heavy gravity. You have no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs. No armor. Your bodies are soft. Your bones break easily. You cannot run fast. You cannot see in the dark. You cannot hear sounds beyond a small range. He paused, letting his words sink in. I do not understand why the Alliance accepted you into this academy. But they did. So I will train you. I will try to make warriors out of you, even though I believe it is impossible. Jisoo opened his mouth to respond, but Commander Draxis had already turned away. Follow me, the commander ordered. I will show you where you will sleep. Try not to die on the way there. The humans followed in silence. Una walked at the back of the group, next to Taiho. She watched Commander Draxis move ahead of them. Despite his size, he walked smoothly, like a predator that knew it had nothing to fear. Well, Taiho whispered, that was a warm welcome. He is testing us, Una said quietly. trying to see how we react. React to what? Being insulted? To being underestimated. Taiho glanced at her. And how should we react? Yuna did not answer. She just kept walking. The living quarters were small and simple. Each human got a tiny room with a bed, a desk, and a window that looked out into space. The beds were designed for larger species, so the humans felt even smaller lying in them. That night, Yuna could not sleep. She sat by her window and looked at the stars. She thought about her home, about the mountains in Korea where she had grown up, about the small dojo where her grandmother had taught her to fight. Her grandmother had been a master of Hapkido, a Korean martial art. She had trained Yuna since she was 5 years old. Every morning, before school, they would practice together in the courtyard. Her grandmother would teach her how to fall without getting hurt, how to use an attacker's strength against them, how to stay calm when everything around her was chaos. "You are small," her grandmother had told her once. "You will always be small. But size is not strength. Strength is knowing who you are. Strength is patience. Strength is control." Yuna closed her eyes and remembered those words. The next morning, training began. The combat arena was a massive circular room with high ceilings and padded floors. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of species gathered there. The Valkyrie stood in the center, looking down at everyone else. Other reptilian species stood near them, trying to look just as tough. The humans were placed at the edge of the arena near the back, the lowest position, the place for beginners and weaklings. Commander Draxis stood on a raised platform and explained the training rules. Cadets would be ranked by skill. They would spar against each other regularly. Winners would move up in rank. Losers would move down. "Combat is simple," the commander said. "The strong survive. The weak do not. This is the way of the universe." Yuna listened without expression. She watched the Valkyrie cadets practice nearby. They were powerful, fast. Their claws could cut through metal. Their tails could break bones, but they were also predictable. They relied on their strength. They moved in straight lines. They attacked with force, not with thought. Taiho leaned close to her. "You see something?" he asked. "I see everything," Yuna said, and she did. 3 weeks passed at the academy. Each day was the same. Wake up early. Eat tasteless food in the massive cafeteria. Train for hours. Sleep. Repeat. The humans stayed together. They had no choice. The other species did not want to be near them. In the cafeteria, aliens would move away when humans sat down. In the training arena, no one wanted to spar with them. Not because they were afraid, but because they thought it was beneath them. "Fighting a human is like fighting a child," Yuna heard one Valkyrie say to his friends. "There is no honor in it." The words did not bother her. She had heard worse things in her life. Words were just sounds. They could not hurt her unless she let them. But some of the other humans were struggling. They were tired of being treated like animals. Tired of being laughed at. Tired of being ignored. Ji Suhan, their group leader, tried to keep everyone calm. "We just need to prove ourselves," he said during one of their private meetings. "Once they see what we can do, things will change." "And how do we prove ourselves if no one will fight us?" asked a woman named Minji. She was frustrated. Her hands were shaking. "We wait," Jisoo said. "Our time will come." Yuna said nothing. She just listened. The training continued. Commander Draxis taught them basic combat forms. How to stand. How to move. How to block attacks. The Valkyrie forms were designed for large bodies with natural weapons. They did not fit human bodies at all. Why Yuna practiced the forms anyway. She did what she was told. But at night, alone in her room, she practiced her own forms. The ones her grandmother had taught her. She moved silently in the dark, going through each technique slowly, feeling her body remember. She was ready. She just needed the chance. The chance came on the 21st day. Commander Draxis announced that combat evaluations would begin. Every cadet would be tested in one-on-one matches. The results would determine their ranking for the rest of the year. I will choose the pairings, the commander said. His yellow eyes moved across the crowd of cadets. When they landed on the humans, something like amusement flickered in them. Yuna felt her heart beat faster. She knew what was coming. Human Cadet Unipark, Commander Draxis called out. You will fight Veltari Cadet Varn. A murmur went through the crowd. Yuna heard gasps. She heard laughter. She heard someone say, "This will be quick." She stepped forward into the arena. On the other side, Varn walked out to meet her. He was young for a Veltari, but still massive. He stood over 2.5 meters tall. His scales were a deep black color, polished and shining. His claws were long and sharp. His tail swung behind him like a thick rope, but it was his eyes that Yuna noticed most. They were filled with hatred, not the casual dislike that most aliens showed humans. This was something deeper, something personal. Varn was a noble. His family had produced warriors for generations. To fight a human was an insult to his bloodline. He would make her pay for this embarrassment. The cadets lined up on opposite sides of the arena. Yuna stood with the other humans. Varn stood with the Veltari. Before the match was announced, the cadets had to walk to the center of the arena. This was tradition. A show of respect before combat. Yuna walked forward. She kept her steps even. Her breathing calm, Varn walked toward her. His steps were heavy. The ground shook slightly with each one. When they were close, Varn stopped. He looked down at her with disgust. "Insect," he whispered, so only she could hear. "You do not belong here." Yuna said nothing. Varn's arm shot out. He shoved her hard in the chest with an open palm. Yuna stumbled backward. She almost fell. Her feet slid on the smooth floor. Pain bloomed in her chest where he had struck her. The Veltari crowd erupted in laughter. The sound echoed through the arena like thunder. "Look at the human!" Someone shouted. "She cannot even stand." Varn smiled, showing all of his teeth. "Go home, little animal. Go back to your dirty planet and stay there." In the observation area above, Taiho gripped the railing so hard his knuckles turned white. His jaw was tight. He wanted to jump down and defend her, but he stayed where he was. He trusted Yuna. He had seen her train. Yuna straightened herself. She took a slow breath. She did not look at the laughing crowd. She did not look at Commander Draxis, who was watching with cold interest. She looked only at Varn. Her expression did not change. There was no anger in her eyes. No fear. No embarrassment. There was only focus. The training eye spoke through the arena speakers. Its voice was mechanical and calm. Match rules. Submission or knockout. Lethal force is prohibited. Match begins on signal. Varn moved into his combat stance. He was a wall of muscle and scales. His claws gleamed under the lights. His tail coiled behind him, ready to strike. Yuna stood still. Her hands were at her sides. Her feet were shoulder-width apart. Her weight was centered. Then she did something unexpected. She bowed. It was a small bow. Quick and respectful. The kind her grandmother had taught her to give before every match. Varn stared at her. He did not understand. No species in the galaxy bowed before combat. It was a sign of submission, of weakness. The Veltari laughed even harder. Yuna rose from her bow. Her eyes met Varn's. She was not submitting. She was not weak. She was ready. The signal sounded. Varn charged. He was faster than Yuna expected. His massive body covered the distance between them in less than a second. His claws slashed toward her face, but Yuna was not there. She had moved. A small step to the left, just enough to let his claws pass by her head. She felt the wind from his strike brush against her hair. Varn spun around, surprised. He attacked again. A heavy punch aimed at her chest. Yuna moved again. Another small step. Another near miss. The arena went quiet. No one was laughing now. Varn attacked again and again. Each time, his strikes hit only air. Each time, Yuna slipped away like water through his fingers. She was reading him. Every twitch of his muscles. Every shift of his weight. She knew what he would do before he did it. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. Watch, wait. Let them show you who they are. Varn was showing her exactly who he was, and now it was her turn. Varn was getting angry. His attacks were becoming wild, sloppy. Each missed strike made him more frustrated. Each time Yuna stepped aside, his rage grew hotter that he could not understand how this was happening. He was faster than her, stronger than her, bigger than her. He was a Velthari warrior from a noble bloodline. She was a soft creature from a primitive planet, and yet he could not touch her. Stand still, he roared. His voice shook the arena. Fight me properly. Yuna did not answer. She kept moving. Small steps, tiny adjustments. She flowed around his attacks like smoke around a rock in the observation area. Taiho leaned forward. His eyes were wide. He had trained with Yuna before. He had seen her skill. But this was different. This was something else entirely. What is she doing? Minji whispered beside him. She is waiting, Taiho said. She is waiting for him to make a mistake. Commander Draxis watched from his platform. His yellow eyes were narrow. His tail twitched slowly. He had seen thousands of fights in his long life. He had trained the greatest warriors in the galaxy. He had never seen anything like this. The human woman was not running. She was not defending. She was doing something far more dangerous. She was controlling the fight. Every movement she made forced Varn to react. Every step she took pulled him in a new direction. She was leading him. Like a river leads a boat. Varn attacked again. A massive overhead strike with both claws. It was the kind of blow that could split metal, but it was also slow. Obvious. Exactly. What Yuna was waiting for. She moved. Not away this time. Toward him. Varan's claws came down. Yuna stepped inside his reach, where his long arms could not touch her. For a brief moment, they were face to face. Her head barely reached his chest. She grabbed his arm. Not with force, but with precision. Her fingers found the exact points where his scales were thinnest, where his joints moved, where his body was weakest. Then she twisted. She did not fight his strength. She used it. His own momentum, his own weight, became her weapon. She turned her hips, dropped her center low, pulled with her whole body. Varn flew. 300 kilograms of Velthari muscle and bone lifted off the ground. His feet left the floor. His tail whipped through empty air. For one impossible moment, he was completely airborne. Then he came down. The impact was massive. Varan's body crashed through the reinforced training mat. The floor beneath cracked like thin ice. The sound was like thunder. The whole arena shook. Dust and debris flew everywhere. Cadets stumbled back. Some covered their faces. Some screamed. When the dust cleared, Varn lay in a crater of broken flooring. His eyes were closed. His body was still. His scales, once shining and proud, were cracked and dull. He did not move. The arena was silent. Completely silent. No one breathed. No one spoke. Yuna stood at the edge of the crater. She was breathing hard, but controlled. There was no joy on her face. No pride. No anger. Only calm. Medical drones rushed from the walls. They surrounded Varn's broken body and began scanning him. Lights blinked. Machines beeped. The drones lifted him carefully and carried him away. The training AI spoke. Match complete. Winner, Human Cadet Una Park. Method, knockout. Still, no one moved. Then, slowly, sounds returned to the arena. Whispers first, then louder voices. Cadets from every species turned to each other with shock on their faces. They pointed at Una. They pointed at the crater. The Volturi cadets stood frozen. Their faces showed emotions that Una had never seen on them before. Confusion, disbelief, and something new. Fear. Commander Draxis stepped down from his platform. His heavy footsteps echoed through the silent arena. The crowd parted before him like water before a ship. He stopped in front of Una. His massive form blocked out the light. His shadow fell over her like a dark blanket. Una looked up at him. She did not bow this time. She simply waited. Explain, Commander Draxis said. His voice was quiet. Dangerous. Yun thought for a moment before speaking. He overextended on his last strike. His weight was forward. His balance was broken. I used his momentum to redirect him. That is not what I am asking, the commander said. I am asking how a human, with no claws, no fangs, no natural strength, defeated a Volturi warrior in single combat. Behind Una, the other humans were watching. Taiho was standing at the railing now, his heart pounding in his chest. This was the moment. Everything depended on what happened next. Una met the commander's gaze. She did not look away. We come from a dangerous world, she said. Our planet has extreme weather. Deadly animals. Poisonous plants. Earthquakes. Floods. Fire. Ice. Everything on Earth wants to kill us. Everything has tried. She paused. The arena was completely silent, hanging on her every word. We survived not because we were the strongest. We were not. We survived because we learned. We watched the animals that were bigger than us. We studied how they moved, how they fought, how they killed. And then we found their weaknesses. She looked down at her hands. Small hands. Soft hands. No claws. No scales. My ancestors developed ways to fight that did not require strength. They learned to use an enemy's power against them. To turn size into a disadvantage. To use leverage, timing, and balance instead of force. She looked back up at Commander Draxis. These techniques are thousands of years old. They have been refined through countless generations. Passed down from teacher to student. From grandmother to granddaughter. The commander stared at her for a long time. His yellow eyes searched her face, looking for lies. Looking for tricks. He found none. What is this technique called? He asked finally. Una thought of her grandmother. Of the small dojo in the mountains. Of the morning lessons in the courtyard. There are many names for it, she said. On my world, we call it martial arts. The art of combat. But my grandmother taught me a specific form. She called it Hapkido. It means the way of coordinating energy. Commander Draxis was silent. His tail had stopped moving. His entire body was still. Then he did something that no one in the arena expected. He bowed. Not a full bow, just a small nod of his massive head. But for a Volturi commander, for a warrior who had never shown respect to any species smaller than his own, it was everything. I underestimated your kind, he said. I will not make that mistake again. He turned and walked back to his platform. Una watched him go. Behind her, she could hear the other humans whispering excitedly. She could feel their hope, their pride, but she did not smile. Not yet. This was only the beginning. The news spread through the station like fire through dry grass. Within hours, everyone knew. The human woman had defeated a Velthari noble in single combat. She had thrown him through the training mat. She had broken his spine in 3 places. Varn would survive. The medical bay had advanced technology that could heal almost any wound. But he would be in recovery for weeks. And when he emerged, he would carry the memory of his defeat forever. In the cafeteria that evening, the atmosphere had changed. When the humans entered, the other species did not move away. Instead, they watched. Curious eyes followed Yuna as she walked to her table. Whispers followed her like shadows. Is that her? The one who broke Varn? She does not look strong. That is the point, fool. Yuna sat down with her tray of food. The other humans gathered around her. Their faces were bright with excitement. For the first time since arriving at the academy, they felt like they belonged. Taiho sat across from her. He was grinning so wide his face might crack. You were amazing, he said. Absolutely amazing. I have never seen anything like it. It was just a fight, Yuna said quietly. She picked at her food. The same tasteless block she ate every day. Just a fight? Jizuhan shook his head. You changed everything today. Do you understand that? Every species on this station saw what you did. They saw that humans are not weak. They saw that we can fight. Yuna looked around the cafeteria. He was right. The looks they were getting now were different from before. There was still curiosity, but the mockery was gone. The contempt had faded. In its place was something new, respect, or maybe caution. That night, Commander Draxis called a meeting. All the combat instructors gathered in a private room. Yuna was not there, but she heard about it later from other cadets who had listened at the doors. The commander had replayed the fight on a large screen. He had slowed it down, analyzed every movement, shown the other instructors exactly what Yuna had done. Watch her footwork, he had said. She moves in circles, not lines. She never meets force with force. She redirects. She flows. She uses angles we do not understand. One of the other instructors, a large insect-like creature with many arms, had asked the obvious question. How do we counter this? Commander Draxis had been silent for a long moment. Then he had said something that shocked everyone in the room. I do not know. The Velthari had dominated combat training for 500 years. They had fought every species in the galaxy. They had developed techniques to defeat creatures with tentacles, with wings, with armored shells, with poison, with everything. But they had never fought anything like this. They had never faced an enemy who did not try to be stronger, who did not try to match power with power. The human way of fighting was completely different. It was built on a simple idea. The harder you attack, the more energy you give your opponent. The stronger you are, the more they can use against you. It was beautiful. And it was terrifying. The next day, Yuna was called to Commander Draxis' office. She walked through the long corridors alone, past cadets who stepped aside to let her pass. She felt their eyes on her back. The commander's office was large and simple. Stone walls. No decoration. A single window that looked out into space. Draxis sat behind a metal desk, his massive form barely fitting in the chair. Sit, he said. Yuna sat in a chair that was far too big for her. Her feet did not touch the floor. Draxis studied her for a long moment. His yellow eyes were thoughtful now, calculating. I have contacted Earth, he said. I spoke with your military leaders. I asked them about your fighting techniques. Yuna waited. They told me that humans have been developing these techniques for thousands of years. Long before you had space travel. Long before you had advanced technology. You created these methods to survive against animals that were bigger, faster, and stronger than you. Yes, Yuna said. They told me there are many different styles. Hundreds of them. each one designed for different situations, different enemies, different body types. Yes. Draxis leaned forward. His clawed hands rested on the desk. They also told me that you are considered a master of your particular style, that you trained with one of the most respected teachers on your planet, your grandmother. Yuna felt a small ache in her chest. She had not spoken to her grandmother since leaving Earth. Communication across such vast distances was difficult and expensive. She taught me everything I know, Yuna said softly. Draxis nodded slowly. I have made a decision. The human cadets will be moved to advanced training. They will no longer be treated as beginners. Yuna felt relief wash through her. This was what they had hoped for, what they had needed. But Draxis was not finished. I have also decided to create a new position, assistant instructor for close quarters combat. He paused. I am offering this position to you. Yuna blinked. She had not expected this. Me? She said. I am still a cadet. You have skills that no one else in this academy possesses. Skills that could benefit every species here. I want you to teach what you know. Yuna thought about this. Teaching, sharing the techniques her grandmother had given her, showing aliens the secrets that humans had developed over millennia. It was a big responsibility. A heavy weight, but it was also an opportunity. A chance to change how the galaxy saw her people. I have one condition, she said. Draxis raised an eyebrow. You are in no position to make conditions. I am in exactly that position, Yuna said calmly. You need what I have. I do not need what you are offering. The commander stared at her. Then, slowly, his mouth curved into something that might have been a smile. Speak your condition. The other humans must be treated as equals. Not just moved to advanced training. Truly treated as equals. Given the same opportunities. The same respect. No more insults. No more dismissal. Draxis considered this. His tail twitched behind him. That is not something I can force, he said. Respect must be earned. We will earn it, Yuna said. But we need the chance to try. The commander was silent for a long time. Outside the window, stars drifted slowly past. Somewhere out there, Earth was spinning. Her grandmother was probably in the dojo right now, teaching another student the same lessons she had taught Yuna. Agreed, Draxis said finally. I will give your people a chance. But if they fail, if they cannot prove themselves, then this agreement ends. Yuna nodded. They will not fail. She stood up from the oversized chair. She was small in this room. Small in this station. Small in this vast galaxy. But size had never mattered. She walked to the door, then stopped. She turned back to look at Commander Draxis. Thank you, she said, for being willing to learn. The commander made a rough sound that might have been a laugh. Thank me when your species has proven itself, he said. This is only the beginning. Yuna smiled slightly. Yes, she said. It is. 6 months passed. The station changed. The academy changed. Everything changed. Yuna stood at the front of the training arena, watching her students practice. There were 40 of them now. Cadets from 12 different species. They moved through the basic forms she had taught them. Their strange bodies trying to copy movements designed for human limbs. It was not easy. A creature with 4 arms had different balance than a creature with 2. A being covered in shells could not bend the same way as one with soft skin. But Yuna adapted her teaching for each student. She found ways to make the principles work for every body type. Remember, she called out to them, you are not fighting against your opponent. You are working with them. They give you their energy. You return it. Like a gift. A young Velthari cadet named Siren was practicing in the front row. She was smaller than most of her species, often mocked by the larger warriors. But she had come to Yuna after the fight with Varn and asked to learn. "I want to be strong like you," Siren had said. "Not strong like them." Yuna had understood perfectly that now Siren was one of her best students. She had learned to use her smaller size as an advantage. In sparring matches, she regularly defeated opponents twice her size. The other, Valkyrie, did not laugh at her anymore. Taiho walked into the arena and stood beside Yuna. He was an assistant instructor now too, teaching basic grappling techniques to beginners. The other humans had all advanced in rank. They were no longer at the bottom of the academy. Some were in the middle. A few were near the top. "Message from Earth," Taiho said. "Your grandmother." Yuna's heart jumped. Communication with Earth was rare. The distances were too great, the costs too high. But occasionally, messages got through. What did she say? Taiho smiled. "She said she saw the recording of your fight. The one with Varn. It was broadcast on Earth. Everyone saw it." Yuna felt warmth spread through her chest. Her grandmother had seen, had watched her granddaughter throw a massive alien warrior through the floor, using the techniques she had taught in their small mountain dojo. "She said she is proud of you," Taiho continued. "And she said—" He paused, trying to remember the exact words. "She said that the student has become the master." Yuna closed her eyes. She could picture her grandmother perfectly. The gray hair tied back in a simple knot. The wrinkled face that had seen so much. The hands that were old and worn but could still throw a man twice her size. "Thank you," she whispered. Whether to Taiho or to her grandmother across the stars, she was not sure. The training session ended. The cadets bowed to Yuna and filed out of the arena. Many of them stopped to talk with her, asking questions, seeking advice. She answered each one patiently. When they were gone, Commander Draxis approached. He walked differently now, not with the arrogance of before, but with something closer to respect. "The Alliance Council has made a decision," he said. Yuna waited. "They have reviewed the performance of human cadets over the past 6 months. They have seen the improvement in other species who trained with you. They have studied your techniques and recognized their value." He paused. His yellow eyes were unreadable. "They are opening a human combat school at the academy, a permanent institution. You will be offered the position of lead instructor." Yuna felt the weight of his words. This was not just about her anymore. This was about humanity, about their place in the galaxy, about proving that they deserved to stand alongside species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. "What about the other humans?" she asked. "The cadets who came with me. They will be given the choice to stay as instructors or continue as warriors. Several have already been recruited by elite military units. Your friend Taiho has been offered a position training special forces on 3 different planets." Yuna looked across the arena at Taiho. He was helping a young cadet with a difficult technique, showing the movement slowly, patiently. He would be a great teacher. They all would. "I accept," Yuna said. Commander Draxis nodded. "I expected you would." He turned to leave, then stopped. "There is something else." "Yes?" The massive Valkyrie warrior seemed almost uncomfortable. It was strange to see such a powerful creature hesitate. "I was wrong about your species," he said. "I thought you were weak because you were soft, because you had no natural weapons, because you came from a primitive world." He shook his head slowly. "I understand now. Your world was not primitive. It was deadly, and you survived it. Not by becoming hard, but by becoming clever. By learning to turn every disadvantage into an advantage. By developing techniques that no other species ever imagined." He looked directly at Yuna. For once, there was no superiority in his gaze. No judgment. Just honesty. I have trained warriors for 200 years. I have never met anyone like you. And I suspect the galaxy has never met anything like humanity. Yuna thought about this. About Earth spinning far away in space. About the billions of humans living there, each one carrying thousands of years of survival knowledge in their blood and bones. About the martial arts schools on every continent, preserving techniques that had been developed before humans knew the stars existed. We are not special, she said finally. We are just survivors. We do what we must to live. Commander Draxis made that rough sound again. The one that might have been a laugh. That is exactly what makes you dangerous, he said. He walked away, his heavy footsteps echoing through the empty arena. Yuna stood alone in the silence. She looked up at the ceiling, at the lights that glowed like artificial stars. Somewhere out there, the real stars were shining. Earth was there. Her grandmother was there. The mountains where she had grown up were there. She had come so far. A small woman from a small planet in a small corner of the galaxy. And now she was changing how the universe saw her entire species. Not through strength. Not through force. Not through conquest. Through patience. Through skill. Through the ancient arts that her ancestors had created thousands of years ago. Her grandmother's words echoed in her memory. Strength is knowing who you are. Yuna knew who she was. And now the galaxy knew too. The next generation of cadets would arrive tomorrow. New faces. New species. New challenges. They would look at humans differently now. Not with contempt, but with curiosity. With respect. Maybe even with fear. And Yuna would teach them. She would share the techniques that had kept humanity alive on their dangerous world. She would show them that true strength was not about power. It was about wisdom. About patience. About turning every weakness into a weapon. She walked out of the arena, into the corridor filled with cadets from 100 different worlds. They parted to let her pass. They nodded to her as she went by. A small human woman. No claws, no fangs, no scales, no armor. Just skill. Just knowledge. Just thousands of years of survival written into every movement she made. The galaxy was vast and full of powerful creatures, but humanity was rising, and they were only getting started.